not being terribly religious, not being a church.
He believes in God, you know? So, there you have it.
You think President Biden believes in God?
No, not at all. He worships the devil.
So,
Telling Joe what he believes. Well, she didn't really do that, but based on what? No true Scotsman at play here. What does religion even have to do with politics? And how is religion even a factor with the presidency? More importantly, why do these Christians want religion infused into the government?
I see. So and that's the difference between the two, is that one worships God and one worships the devil. And how do you see that manifested in President Biden?
It's showing.
It's showing. It's showing. Okay, he did ask, but he didn't ask her what it's showing means. What's showing? What are traits of Satanism and how are they bad? Do these traits involve harming people?
I mean, I guess where do you see the devil worship come out in President Biden?
All over. All over the country. Like everywhere.
Another void answer. No examples, no explanation, nothing. Again, much like the definition of communism, these Christians don't even know what Satanism is. I don't know what Satanism is, and I'm not even religious. Well, shouldn't they know what Satanism is, considering they're Christian? Well, they say that we're Satanists, but obviously self-projection going on there. I don't know.
It's everywhere.
It's everywhere.
I guess tell me a little
I
bit
said
more.
so.
I know you're saying it's
It's
all over the country.
everywhere.
I'm curious how, like specifically, where do you see like, oh, that's because President Biden worships
Fuck.
the devil, that blank.
Child sex trafficking. The schools.
No, that's only a straw man talking point peddled and perpetuated by conservatives. I haven't personally seen any evidence of this, and I've seen many fucking videos. How is sex trafficking satanic? It's capitalist. That's why it's going on. Money. Same reason, same thing that God wants in church. Money.
Kids. It's everywhere. It's everywhere.
And do you think President Biden's responsible for child sex trafficking?
Yes.
You do. In what ways?
Every way.
Every way. Wouldn't this be a case of slander? Actually, no, scratch that. The legal system in America is just fucked. It's a joke. Never mind. Marjorie was in court ordered to see a neural specialist after repeatedly saying she either doesn't know or remember anything about January 6th, and kept away from Congress as a result. So Joe wouldn't likely to get anywhere with a slander case in America, especially with his fucking reputation, which is mostly just a straw man, really. Oh yeah, Donald is still running around too, after stealing government documents.
Are you a QAnon supporter?
No.
No, I'm curious what the child sex trafficking and the president, where that comes from.
I don't know. Ask him.
Okay, you have President.
Oh no! It's her opinion that Joe is a devil worshipper, and she accuses Joe of sex trafficking, as she claims it goes on everywhere. She somehow knows that. Nobody's seen it, but they know it. But she doesn't know where the president's sex trafficking comes from. They know everything else, just not that. Aside from that, yeah, Joe's just going to open right up about sex trafficking. Okay there, lady.
President
Fucking
Biden, who
moron.
goes to church every Sunday. You have President Biden, who has lived.
Church, yeah.
Well, he goes to the Catholic Church.
I know, sure, yeah, and yet he supports abortion and what have you. I mean, sorry, but Biden is not a Christian, okay? Pretty much everyone knows that. And Trump,
Maybe you have a point there, I don't know, but to go as far as to say he's not religious or Christian, No. Not that that should matter, but I don't know. So another true Scotsman peddler. I've already broken this shit down. What if the polls show that Donald isn't religious? Wouldn't that discredit them as... Would he discredit those polls as fake news? I can't help but be curious about that.
Some degree.
You say pretty much everybody knows that. A lot of people think he's the most religious president we've had in a long time, the most God-adoring president.
Who thinks that? You've seen polls that say that? I've never seen a poll that says anything about Biden being religious. I just can't imagine that many Democrats really think, or that anyone really even would paint Biden as a Catholic. That strikes me as odd. I don't know where that even
I don't even understand what the fuck this has to do with slavery, let alone politics. What the fuck? Who cares? I don't think any of you guys are religious. What do you fucking think of that? Oh wait, I'm just an atheist. What the fuck could I possibly know? I have to say, at least this guy looks alive when he talks, and not a mindless drone like that lady. I'll say that much.
he even came from.
Well, he's been a Catholic his whole life, and he still worships in a Catholic church every week.
But in terms of it being a religious man, I'm just not buying it. Sorry.
Can you?
Oh, nobody asked you for your fucking opinion, asshole. And I don't really give a fuck if he is religious or not. You're the one making a big deal of it, not anybody else. Okay, I would ask him why it matters. Religion doesn't belong in politics anyway. That's why I would ask him.
Say one nice thing about
This
President
guy
Biden.
doesn't know how to clean his fucking beard.
Absolutely nothing at all. There is not one thing that
I'd like to know what good he has to say about Donald. I often ask conservatives, and they rarely give answers, but the few who do tend to become silent after I mention my book about Donald. It's like kryptonite to them.
man has ever done in his entire political career. I did not like the man when he was in Congress.
Well, I mean, I'll be honest. I mean, I did vote for Trump. I've
These
never really
assholes
voted
in their
before.
fucking American
To me,
colors
it was
all over
like
their
always
clothes.
watching WWF
Fucking
wrestling.
stupid.
They pump up this guy, and then he's supposed to win. They pump up that guy. That guy's supposed to win.
Get
It's
over
like
your
theatrics
get
in
over
play
it.
every single time.
Really.
I don't care which side it is. They all just go blah, 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 and do whatever it is that they're going to do.
So you voted in the last election.
So Donald was different somehow? Donald just drones about shit, especially at his rallies. Like talking to a gossipy elderly person. That's what it is. Just yap, 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 yap. About nothing. And as often as many non-right-wingers would say, he lies. Just about everything he says.
Do you accept the results of the last election?
You know, unfortunately, I'm probably one of those election deniers that people talk about. But I also wear red, white, and blue, which, according to some people, makes me a. As far as
Who's
the
talking
election
about? What do
goes,
you want?
yeah,
What?
I don't think that the election was done fair and square. I've been watching a lot of information from a lot of people, factual information. Dr. Frank's a great source of information. He started in the beginning, pure.
I've never heard of Dr. Frank. I wonder if any of these people have seen the votes for themselves. Probably not. My way around the, quote, election fraud shit is asking them why they want Donald back in office, as they've singled Donald out. They don't care about the voting itself, the voting system. It's Donald they care about. That's the whole essence of the deal, of this whole phenomenon. They would otherwise be concerned about the elections, and they would have detected fraud years ago. But no, it's just suddenly happened, just because Donald wasn't elected.
On accident, kind of like I started my journey on accident. I didn't come out here to try to find all the stuff that I found out. It's just kind of happened as I've gone along.
What did you
And
find out?
What do I think? What do I know? I mean, gosh, if I talk long enough, just about.
Dude, you believe in election fraud. What could you possibly know? What could you have possibly looked into? Fuck. You don't know anything, and you aren't interested in honestly looking at both sides, while January 6th happened instead of an investigation.
Anybody could think I'm absolutely crazy.
My vote was stolen.
And you're completely sensible? While you wear that ugly fucking shirt and praise Donald for being a standout candidate, unlike the other people being pumped up to win, as you put it? What the fuck?
Okay, may I?
This asshole again.
Okay, all right. So,
Doesn't know
I
enough
will.
to take a fucking
when I
shower.
woke up, okay, after voting, after watching the numbers, and I woke up at 5 o'clock on November the 4th, okay, when I woke up and I saw those numbers change the way they did in my state of Pennsylvania and across this nation to the point where they had excuses, where they had no reason in my mind, okay, when I went
Yeah,
to
in
sleep
your
that
mind.
evening,
That's very telling right there,
1:32
but your
o'clock,
whole fucking
I knew who
perception.
that president was when I was going to wake up. That's not what happened. My vote was stolen. The Democrats and Republicans both.
So your vote was stolen because you saw Joe instead of Donald when you woke up at 5 p.m. on November 5th? Yes, I can agree that's pretty suspicious, but you have nothing. Nobody has looked into it. Your response is emotional, which is why the insurrection happened. But your logic is just bullshit. What does this even have to do with Democrats? I mean, really.
Have some real wrongdoers. I'll agree to that. Okay, I have voted both sides. I voted for Barack Obama twice, and I felt duped. Okay, and I know I will never vote Democrat again in my life ever. Okay, and I take that to the bank. Okay, they'll never change. Their color has been written. The Communist Party has now taken hold of them, and they are directing.
So explain how the Republican Party is just so fucking superior and just flawless. I mean, there's that word again, communism. A word, just this incredible Republican buzzword. I would have asked him what his understanding of communism is, but that's just me.
Them. And people have got to wise up, and they need to do their research, and they need to understand.
And what research have you done, pal? You woke up and got upset because Donald wasn't still showing. Whatever you're talking there. On November 4th. That's your... what the fuck? That's how you drew the conclusion that your vote was stolen. What research have you ever done? I mean, what the fuck? Really?
That the truth, the real truth is out there.
Let's talk about President.
Which none of you care
How
about.
you feel about the 2020 election? Do you think he is the legally elected president?
He's not my president.
Explain that to me.
He's not. He's illegal. It
Based on what? How is Donald a legal president? I don't like either of them. I was for Bernie. But I'm not the one running around election fraud for reason X or Y. Conspiracy theories.
shadow government. He's not my president.
You know, I find that compelling for obvious reasons. What about, like, so what's the shadow government, and how is he not your president because he wasn't legally elected, or because you didn't want him to be president?
He wasn't legally
Good boy.
elected.
How did he get elected?
He didn't. He got selected.
Unfortunately, this guy does not hold her to answering. She just repeats herself that Joe is illegal. What is that?
And who did the selecting?
The swamp.
But what about
The
the votes?
swamp.
The votes that
Swamp.
were, that he had more votes. How did that matter?
Yeah, that mattered. It was done illegally.
It was done illegally.
You feel that in Pennsylvania?
I said
Yeah.
so.
In what way?
The ballots, in the middle of the night,
No, we don't know. Just because she says so. It was done illegally because, quote, the ballots and, quote, the middle of the night. What the fuck is she on about?
all that.
So you think that meant that he didn't really win because something happened in the middle of the night?
Yeah, what do you think?
I
Do you really care what anybody outside your fucking echo chamber thinks, lady? Fuck off.
believe that there was some sort of fraud going on as far as the election goes.
Do you think that President Biden was legitimately elected?
No, nor do I believe that he got 81 million votes.
And
And have you personally seen anything for yourself? No? Then how the fuck do you know?
do you believe that Donald Trump got more votes than anybody in history on that same day, or second most to Biden?
Yes.
So you think all the Trump votes were fine, but the Biden votes were curious?
You know what? That's a. I feel like that's sort of loaded. There's
So that's loaded, but your baseless opinions are completely realistic? I'll admit that I don't know what loaded means, but this guy has the audacity to say that. What?
an algorithm. Okay, I think that there is an algorithm that is being
You think there
used
is?
based off of polling in order to add votes that did not exist. Okay,
You think? I would ask if he can prove this algorithm, but he just said he thinks, making that whole thing completely void. He thinks, therefore it is. Just because he fucking says so. Just because. Same with that lady. And just it's same case with all of them. What the fuck?
there was a record turnout for voting in the 2020 election. Right? Normally, you have just about the same number of people that are going to be voting.
Goes up a little bit each presidential election.
Right, but this one to spike in the middle of the night is
In the
curious
middle
to
of
me.
the
Also,
night?
all of a sudden, there's all
I can agree that's suspicious, but that doesn't mean anything. If that poll window isn't closed yet, that means things can still change. Things can still happen. This must be what the bearded guy was talking about. If this small detail is what the Republican Party has been whining about for the past 2 years, well, ever since Joe got in office, and gone to the extreme of January 6th, then the Republican Party is insane. If anything, that simply means the voting system is a mess, and it needs to be updated. Not that it's fucking corrupt, and it's some fucked up conspiracy against Donald. Fuck that.
of these votes for President Biden, and knowing that the Dominion voting systems were capable of connecting to the internet when they're not supposed to be capable of connecting to the internet, and those fallacies being told, that causes me to be very speculative.
This guy mentions fallacies. How about defending Donald instead of questioning the voting system itself? Only for the Republicans to trust voting again for Marjorie's recent re-election, and now the midterms. Where did that inconsistency come from? Sarah Palin lost, and the midterms was a big fucking catastrophe for the Republican Party. Why aren't you Republicans screaming about back when Sarah lost, why weren't you screaming about her election robbery? And what happened now? I mean, the midterms just passed. What the fuck? Just inconsistent all the way. What the fuck? Bullshit.
In 1870, when our birth certificates started to get sold to the companies, and so there's like 3 different kinds of laws out there, and I don't understand it completely.
So were we Christian while we had slavery here?
Well, being Christian is a personal relationship with Jesus Christ.
No, I meant as a nation.
Did he ask what Christianity is? No? Then why the fuck are you answering a question he didn't ask? What does a relationship with Jesus have to do with people being property? If human ownership is involved, why do people want such a relationship? How is that a relationship? Fucking weirdo.
Because we were talking about being a Christian nation. That's what you had said before.
Well, yeah, we were, but many of us were deceived, and many of us were not accountable.
What do you mean deceived? How can anybody be tricked about slavery? That's bullshit. So, Satan wrote the Bible, or inspired people to author it? What the fuck are you talking about, pal?
Due to churches not teaching the truth about different things.
I see.
You know, we,
How can you know that anything taught in any church is false? Who are you to even make such a criticism? Even if it's true, why do you agree with it? What the fuck is that?
You need to keep in mind too, we didn't invent slavery, we ended it. It's
Who started it in America? Not having invented it excuses America? Would it have needed to be stopped if it wasn't going on to begin with? Did God invent it? Does the Bible condemn it? From what I hear, it doesn't. So what the fuck?
it was a really hard thing to do. I mean, we fought a civil war over it. England ended slavery just before that, but slavery existed everywhere throughout all of humanity. I mean, my ancestors are Irish. They were enslaved by the British to the tune of 1.25 million. People need God. That's what it comes down to. And
this guy just pulled "people need God" out of nowhere. He went from Irish being enslaved by the British to saying that. I would have asked him where the idea for human ownership came from. Many Christians are openly pro-slavery. I have no idea where this guy is coming from.
I know that for me, I had, I was a kind of a product of my own culture in that I was, running away with eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we die. I didn't have a moral compass. I knew what right and wrong was, but
Sounds fun, but
yeah, it was a lot of fun. Sin's great, by the way. Sin is great, but it's not.
Why is it condemned then?
There's.
What does this even have to do with slavery? What are you on about? What the fuck?
There's a big difference between having a good time and living a good life. And living a good life is kind of hard because it means you have to make sacrifices and you have to say no to sin. And Christ makes that easier. It makes it an easier proposition.
Completely different subject. Maybe this guy is just deflecting, but I'll break this down anyway. How does God make life easier? Would life be difficult if God made us invincible and immortal, which would enable sin? Well, or which would eliminate sin? I don't know. I don't know what having a good time has to do with sin, but if sin is bad in this life, how is heaven good? Yeah, I could probably, I don't know.
He changes your heart, and that's what he did for me. He stopped. He kept me from desiring the things that were destroying me. So that's.
How does sin have an effect on life? What is sin? Well, these guys don't go for definitions either. That's the problem with these reporter types. Or these reporters or anybody who is... They don't ask for definitions. It's a huge problem. I can't really do anything else with this without a definition for sin. Or what his idea of whatever. Okay, what... Maybe if God was a responsible creator, nothing would cause us any damage. Christians would argue we're mortal because of Adam and Eve, and it's our fault because of them. To which I would respond, this existence wouldn't be necessary if God either wasn't a tyrant and didn't want obedience, or just didn't create life.
He changed my heart. So when people get offended when they see an American flag and say, oh, well, that's a symbol of hate or a symbol of racism or something like that, they're really distorting what it means. The idea of America.
While he's about to see that, I'll say this. Tell the Ku Klux Klan that, or Ku Klux Klan that, whatever, yeah, whatever. And all of the Nazis and other extreme racists who wave both the American and Confederate flags around. See what they tell you. Personally, I find flag worship annoying. Many Americans wear the colors on their fucking clothes. Even if America is the greatest country, fuck off. Let America's greatness speak for itself.
Is still beat strongly in the heart of every American, and it's about freedom and liberty and personal autonomy, personal sovereignty, being able to be.
Of course, while you patriots constantly complain about everything in America, you all want a Christian theocracy, which is the antithesis to the Constitution. So yes, people saying the American flag represents hate, they aren't wrong.
Being master of your own destiny, being able to build your own business, being able to take care of your family. I mean, things that are essential.
An example of the freedom, liberty, and personal autonomy that they all stand for? Did this guy forget that the subject is slavery? Who is stopping anybody from any of those? Are people allowed to smoke pot? Are gays and lesbians allowed to marry? Are atheists allowed in government? What's this about freedom?
Actually universally cherished and treasured. And
Do you feel that those are under attack in some way?
absolutely they are. I mean,
Actually,
what?
just
Well,
what does he say there?
liberty and personal autonomy, personal sovereignty, being idea of America is still beats strongly in the heart of every American, and it's about freedom and liberty and personal autonomy, personal sovereignty, being master of your own destiny, being able to build your own business, being able to take care of your family.
Which is why
I mean,
so many
things
people
that
are in fucking prison,
essentially
right?
Universally cherished and
Over
treasured.
bullshit laws.
And
Do you feel that those are under attack in some way?
absolutely they are. I mean,
In what way?
well, I mean, look at all the social media. Look at, I mean, people being.
What does censorship have to do with taking care of one's family, starting a business, sovereignty/autonomy, or slavery? What would a book burning be if that isn't a form of censorship?
I mean, I think censorship is by far one of the most dangerous things. And Jordan Peterson.
I mean, I
talks
agree,
quite a
but
bit,
what the
right?
fuck?
Once you
Look, it's-
censor a person's ability to say certain things, you're essentially hamstringing their ability to think properly. Because if you can't express your views, you don't. Sometimes, like even in this interview,
So how does Christianity affect one's thinking?
sometimes I'm kind of like almost discovering what my views are by verbalizing them.
Do you feel
While I've learned nothing about your views on slavery,
as if freedom is under attack, and if so, how?
Oh, well, absolutely. I mean, freedom is written in our Constitution. Those are our freedoms. Those are our God-given rights, right? And if we don't have them, then no, we're not free. If we can't speak our minds and let people...
I can't say anything about, quote, God-given rights because it is written in the Constitution. The problem is that these patriots don't really care about the Constitution, while most of them probably haven't even read it. That's probably the only sentence any of them fucking know about the Constitution. God-given rights. I mean, I don't agree with that, but, I mean, just the fact that the Constitution mentions God, but that's just me.
know how it is that we feel and what we're experiencing, then what do we have? We don't have a voice. We don't have the ability to express ourselves, and without that, the rest of it, doesn't even matter.
Where do you feel
Based on my experience on Getter for a year now, I've never been censored aside from some people blocking me, but nobody I reply to ever answers my questions. I do often get attacked with insults and name calling. So most Republicans are actually worse than censorship, while they've demonstrated to me a long time ago that conservative is just a void economic ideology, while it's also very immature and hostile.
People are talking about making America a Christian nation. Would you support that?
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, the values, you know, thought that's what we built the country on, was,
What are the values, and how are those values good? I would have asked the guy for a source citation of the common claim that America was founded upon Christianity. Even if it is, all of these Christians need to bear in mind that America is really fucked up, to the point they are calling for a divine intervention, along with Donald being dictator. Christianity has never seemed to do America any good, while they call for a Christian nation, as they believe this country is blessed by God and such. America in its current state, which it's been in for decades, the immense crime, inequality, corruption, etc., would all be a strong resemblance of a godly nation. So, I don't know.
my impression, but obviously things got twisted along the way.
In
It's pretty disheartening to see what's going on. So many people that are unaware of the just general challenges in life.
Why is life challenging if God is an almighty creator? Why did this creator make us so flawed, and this planet so difficult to inhabit? Why do you want life to be difficult?
What's going on behind the scenes on the bad side?
Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Well, conspiracy theories, tin hat guy, call it what you will. I've been in the rabbit hole deep in all directions, and over the last couple of years, I've been awake for a long time. Excuse me, but you know, deep in the rabbit hole, verifying incidentals, looking at videos, checking backgrounds, you know, doing homework. I have to vet everything, and
If he's saying he's been keeping himself informed, I don't understand why he believes Christianity is the truth, and why he's a conservative. Psychologically speaking, stepping aside from his claims of being awake and having done his due diligence, he thinks Christian values are good, and is what America needs. And that's the root problem with this guy.
I was never a real church kind of guy, but in the last couple of years, I've gotten real spiritual. In here, you know, you have to get with yourself.
What happened?
How is spirituality a valid way of getting with yourself? What does that have to do with politics, economics, or society?
Happens to people who are not Christian in this country, who are atheists, who are Jewish, who are Islamic. If America is religious freedom and there is a sort of a mandate for Christianity in America, what happens to that?
Repeat the question. I'm sorry.
What do
How
we
is
say
that
to
a
our
difficult
Jewish brothers
question
and
to
sisters if we're
understand,
saying
buddy?
We have a Christian
What the
nation.
fuck?
I wouldn't necessarily even call it pushing Christianity, or like I don't even go there.
The fuck? Yet, he said a minute ago that he wants a Christian nation, which would mean bad news for all outsiders.
I'm like, I am what I am. So
What are you?
knowing that gives me my spirituality. So that's a worldwide thing. That's not Islamic. That's not Hebrew or Jewish or German or any other. It's humankind. In my book, that's kind of how.
You didn't even define what the fuck. So why have a religious theocracy then?
Things sort of seem to work, you know, if you're paying attention.
I believe it always has been a Christian nation. I believe that there is a covenant with God, and He will not let this country go, and it will come
Why do you want God to exist? Where is America mentioned in the Bible?
back to what it was supposed to be, out of the slave state.
Explain that a little bit.
What the slave?
What you mean by what it will become what it was supposed to be. And from your perspective, what does that mean?
My perspective is that under godly instruction and biblical principles as
How are godly instruction and those biblical principles good? Christians often mention these things but can never provide examples or explain why they are good. It's always just assertions with these people.
I believe God created government even in the Bible, and there's like different ways.
Would a government be
The
needed
goal is
if
to
God was
spread
the
the truth
responsible
as we
creator?
know it,
What the
share
fuck?
Jesus, which is the ultimate truth.
How do we explain that?
Why do you want to share the gospel? Especially knowing many don't want to hear it. Why do you choose to enable this dangerous tyrant by selling humanity out instead of telling God to fuck off? Even if the Bible is the truth, how does that justify the horror that it is and validate you to want it to be the truth?
And the slave state part of it.
I believe we became a
Yeah. Whoa, look at the size of that fucking ear. Wow. That's an enormous ear. Anyway.